Long before the X-Files TV series, the Majestic 12 documents arrived. The documents were anonymously sent to TV producer Jamie Shandera's residence in Hollywood, California in December of 1984 in the form of photos on 35mm film. After developing the images, he spent the next few years researching and authenticating them. The documents are a brief about a secret government agency that was created in response to the crash at Roswell. The agency, known as Majestic 12 or MJ-12, would be responsible for handling the UFO extraterrestrial situation in the United States, including but not limited to the cleanup of crashed saucers, dispensation of alien technology to be back engineered, and cover-up of alien visitation evidence. The documents include the first members of the organization. Dated November 18, 1952, they mention the Roswell incident, which happened in 1947. According to these documents, an alien spaceship did indeed crash near Roswell. Its propulsion system was apparently destroyed in the crash, but 4 alien bodies were recovered from the scene. It was concluded that the ship probably originated from outside our solar system and was probably a short-range craft. The document briefly describes another crash at El Indio, Texas in 1950. The MJ-12 documents were said to be briefing papers for President-elect Eisenhower from briefing officer Admiral Roscoe H. Hillenkotter, the first director of the CIA from 1947 to 1950. The documents also list the other members of MJ-12, all high-profile figures in the U.S. federal government. The authenticity of the documents has been a hot debate since their public release in 1987 by Shandera, together with partner William Moore, author of The Roswell Incident. Some supporters, such as retired aerospace engineer Robert M. Wood, have spoken publicly in support of these documents, citing forensic evidence. Both the FBI and the Air Force claim that these documents are fakes, citing an Air Force investigation. To make matters more complicated, others, such as an alleged ex-special agent for the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations, Richard Doty, claimed that the MJ-12 documents are part of a large disinformation campaign that lasted decades and were orchestrated by the AFOSI to make UFO researchers believe they were seeing alien technology, when in fact the objects studied and observed were secret USA projects. The jury is still out on the truth surrounding these documents, and other supporting documents have been leaked since these. The MJ-12 documents may or may not be real, but the existence of a military retrieval unit has been documented and reportedly involved in almost every crash to date. All machines fail, no matter how complex or advanced they are. Therefore, it isn't unusual that if aliens are visiting Earth frequently, then they would experience failures of their craft, just as we have airline crashes and train derailments. No machine, no matter how technologically advanced, is perfect. When most people think of a UFO crash, they think of Roswell, New Mexico. However, Roswell is only one of many such occurrences. UFO crash reports have been published since 1884. This early and perhaps the first UFO crash reported in the United States occurred in Max, Nebraska, about 35 miles northwest of Binkleman in Dundee County on the 6th of June. John W. Ellis and 3 of his herdsmen, as well as a number of other cowboys, were out engaged in a roundup when they were startled by a terrific whirring noise over their heads, and turning their eyes, saw a blazing body falling like a shot to earth. It struck beyond them, being hidden from view by a bank. One of the herdsmen, Alf Williamson, was burned as he approached the craft, which had created a split in the ground as it came to a stop. He was taken back to Ellis's home and treated for his burns. E.W. Rollins, the brand inspector for the district, came to the location later to inspect it. The Nebraska State Journal reported on the event again in 1887, saying one piece that looked like the blade of a propeller screw of a metal of an appearance like brass, about 16 inches wide, 3 inches thick, and 3.5 feet long, was picked up by a spade. It would not weigh more than 5 pounds, but appeared as strong and compact as any known metal. A fragment of a wheel with a milled rim, apparently having had a diameter of 7 or 8 feet, was also picked up. It seemed to be of the same material and had the same remarkable lightness. The description of the material in this case is reminiscent of the Roswell debris regarding its lightness and durability. Yet this crash occurred 63 years before the Roswell incident. Some UFO researchers believe that remnants of the metal from this crash could be lost or buried in the Republican River Valley, and that it's possible that in a barn or tool shed there could still be pieces of metal laying around that no one knows where it came from. Perhaps one day someone will discover an unusual fragment from this crash and bring forth physical proof of the existence of alien visitors. We know now that extraterrestrials are not new to Earth. Throughout history, UFOs and even aliens have appeared in our artwork, from cave paintings to medieval tapestries. Even in monuments and structures around the planet, we can see the influence of alien technology. We know the aliens have been here, and we know they are here even today. The modern fascination with UFOs, aliens, and extraterrestrial visits began in the 1950s, with several craft were sighted by Kenneth Arnold. Even the term flying saucer was coined at that time. But UFOs, flying saucers, and alien spacecraft were already recorded in our history. Something of this magnitude would not go amiss to world governments, or even the Church. The Vatican has always kept a stern stance on UFOs and aliens until recently. They viewed these things as the work of the devil. Even much of science was heresy. We think of belief systems as separated from government, but throughout the world, the church and state are often fused, even becoming a government of their own. This was the case for the Catholic Church. For centuries, they ruled, and for centuries, they kept records in the Vatican. Many of the world's best-kept secrets are not sequestered away in a warehouse under government control. The Vatican, a government of and within itself, keeps vaults and records too. Perhaps they know something we don't. Recently, the Vatican has made some startling statements, some that go against their long-held stance on UFOs. Reverend Jose Gabriel Funes, the Vatican's chief astronomer, has stated that ruling out extraterrestrial life would be like putting limits on God's creative freedom. Further, he states that, in my opinion, his possibility of life on other planets exists. How can we exclude that life has developed elsewhere? Monsignor Corrado Balducci, a Roman Catholic theologian of the Vatican Curia, a close friend of the Pope and a demonologist from the Vatican, has openly declared publicly that extraterrestrial intelligences are a real phenomenon. If the United States government somehow was inexplicably unaware of the existence of extraterrestrial life up to the 1950s, then on July 29, 1952, they would be forced to concede the issue when a squadron of UFOs overflew the Capitol. The Washington National Airport sightings were not just a single night of UFO flyovers. From July 12th to July 29th, the Capitol was buzzing with UFO activity on a nightly basis. On July 19 at 11:40 p.m., Air Traffic Controller Edward Nugent spotted several craft 15 miles southwest of the Capitol. There were no scheduled aircraft in the area, and these craft were not flying any established flight paths. He wrote in his report that their movements were completely radical compared to those of ordinary aircraft. Other controllers in the area confirmed the radar blips and observed the orange ball-type UFOs outside their windows. More objects appeared on their radar scopes and moved over the White House and the Capitol building. The story made front-page headlines and alarmed the Truman administration. The president himself personally called Captain Edward J. Rupert, the supervisor of the Air Force's Project Blue Book investigation into the UFO mystery, and asked for an explanation of the sightings. The president was told it was a temperature inversion. However, the Air Force placed several jet pilots on nationwide alert with orders to shoot down any UFO that ignores orders to land. To this day, there is no explanation for this incident. The government accepted the weather-related explanation because it was easy to tell this to the public, rather than admit they knew the craft were alien in origin. UFO sightings often entice our interest in worlds beyond our own. We marvel at science fiction TV shows and movies that depict life in some faraway galaxy or a journey on a starship headed to where we have never gone. It's part of our unconscious mind to wonder what is beyond our grasp. But one does not have to look toward space to find bizarre mysteries to ponder. Indeed, one may only need to look toward the many wheat fields that dot the landscape around the world. Crop circles have been appearing in grain fields all over the earth during the last few decades. They appear suddenly, usually at night. At first, they were simple circles of bent-over grain stalks. Soon, a new crop of more elaborate designs evolved. Geometric forms reminiscent of profound mathematical theorems. Some cereologists, the people who study crop circles, say that these diagrams must be created by intelligent alien beings from elsewhere. Even though these diagrams must be constructed in a very short time span, the genuine crop circles never show any serious mistakes or blunders of execution. Cereologists see this as evidence that the aliens must be intelligent and much more advanced than we are. There's good evidence that aliens have been defacing the Earth's surface with the geological graffiti for a very long time. The curious lines and drawings on the Nazca Plain in Peru likely have the same cause. The number of crop circles has substantially increased from the 1970s to current times. There has been little scientific study of them. Circles in the United Kingdom are not spread randomly across the landscape, but appear near roads, areas of medium to dense population, and cultural heritage monuments such as Stonehenge or Asbury. In 1678, news pamphlets of the Mowing Devil, or strange news out of Hertfordshire, is claimed by some cereologists to be the first depiction of a crop circle. Since 2001, crop formations have increased in size and complexity of form, some featuring as many as 2,000 different shapes, and some incorporating complex mathematical and scientific characteristics. Though some circles are created by hoaxers, there remains a good number of them that are completely unexplained due to their location and speed at which they were created, as well as unusual magnetic and formation patterns within the circles themselves. Massive crop circles have been photographed soon after they appeared in fields throughout the UK. Some display such intricate designs that prove they would have had to have been made over a long period of time by a large number of people, yet they appeared quickly with no sign of human presence. A number of eyewitnesses claim to have seen crop circles created within a matter of seconds. The formations were so complex that it would have taken an army of people many hours just to attempt to create it by hand. Because nobody on Earth has been able to duplicate a true crop circle, certainly not at the cellular level, the assumption is made that it must be extraterrestrial in origin. People who stand inside a crop circle often experience a dramatic rush of emotions and increased perceptual abilities. If crop circles are messages from aliens, what does it mean? What are they trying to communicate? Who is the intended message receivers? Could these bizarre patterns in the fields be some connection to our place in the cosmos? Going back in time, on June the 1st of 1853, several luminous objects were seen hovering over the Tennessee College campus. The sun rose over the campus of Burritt College. Numerous students, who apparently were early risers in those days, were startled to see two luminous objects in the sky. According to a professor, A.C. Carnes, who reported the incident in a letter to Scientific American, the first had the appearance of a small new moon, while the others resembled a large star. The small object then vanished, while the bigger one changed shape. First it was a globe, then into an elongated shape parallel with the horizon. The smaller light then became visible again and increased rapidly in size, while the other object shrank. The two objects continued fluctuating in a familiar fashion for the next 30 minutes. The students asked for an explanation, but neither the president nor professors were satisfied to the character of the lights. While the professors speculated that the occurrence might have been caused somehow by atmospheric moisture, the incident remains a mystery. Perhaps one of the largest and most publicized encounters took place back on February 25th of 1942. It's been called the Battle of Los Angeles because American troops tried to shoot down a UFO in full view of the public. In the early morning hours, radar operators spotted an unidentified object 120 miles west of Los Angeles and watched anxiously as it zoomed to within a few miles of the Southern California coast, and then, inexplicably, vanished from their screens. Sometime after that, an artillery officer along the coast reported what he described as 25 aircraft flying at 25,000 feet, and a few minutes later, other observers saw a balloon-like object carrying what appeared to be flares over nearby Santa Monica. Then, anti-aircraft batteries spotted what witnesses later described as a swarm of objects flying at various altitudes at speeds of up to 200 miles per hour. Fearing that the city was under attack by the Japanese, they fired 1,400 rounds of ammunition at the bogies. But apparently, none of them hit anything, because no wreckage subsequently was found. Officials initially described the incident to a combination of false alarms and mass hysteria, but ufologists have speculated over the years that the gunners might have been shooting at an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Multiple eyewitnesses saw the object and the military's attempt to shoot it down. Whatever it was, it silently disappeared and was not seen again. No balloon could have survived the assault from the military cannons, and no wreckage, nor were balloon fragments ever recovered. If you think crop circles are bizarre, what would you think of people who claim to have had sex with aliens? Actually, it's not an uncommon report within the annals of UFO research. In what is probably China's best-known alien abduction report, farmer Ming Zagao claims that in 2010 he was visited by a 9-foot-tall humanoid alien with 12 fingers and braided leg hair. He claims he went up into the hills to investigate what looked like a fallen aircraft when he was approached by the alien being. Ming and the alien had sex for 40 minutes while levitating in the air. The being returned that night to tell Ming she would bear his hybrid baby in 60 years. Police say Ming passed a lie detector test. In his book, Hair of the Alien, Peter Corey claims to have had 2 alien abduction experiences. The primary encounter involved 2 naked Nordic-like aliens who telepathically and sexually assaulted Peter. He went public with physical evidence of the encounter, claiming to have a blonde hair strand from one of the aliens. What followed was the world's first DNA analysis of a biological sample from an alleged alien abduction experience. As would be expected, the results of this DNA analysis have been hotly debated. Psychic Stephanie Fake Cohen claims to have had out-of-this-world sex with octopus-looking aliens and cat people. Interestingly, or perhaps disturbingly is the right word, of this cat imagery appears in her abduction experience. In another alien abduction story, UK laborer counselor Simon Parks claimed he had regular intercourse with an alien he referred to as the Cat Queen. Parks says he fathered a baby named Zarka with the aliens. Parks also says that he himself is the son of an 8-foot-tall mother alien who had 8 fingers. Antonio Villas-Boas' UFO experience was one of the first reported examples of alien abduction. Antonio was a Brazilian farmer working in a field late at night on October the 16th of 1957 to avoid the scorching heat of working during the day. He claimed that as he plowed a field, he spotted a red star in the sky. This light slowly moved closer until he discerned that it was in fact a circular or egg-shaped UFO with a red light on its front. The craft landed in the field Antonio was working in. The farmer tried to make a run for it, but was captured and taken inside the UFO by a tall humanoid wearing gray coveralls and a helmet. He was taken into a room, had his clothes removed, and then he was joined by a very attractive female with white hair but bright red pubic hair. Despite his capture and his strange environment, he felt strongly for the female humanoid as she was naked, and Antonio was instantly attracted to her. Without speaking or kissing, they had sex, during which she growled like a dog. After the acts were over, the woman made gestures that Antonio took to mean that the act of sex was for the expressed desire to create a child. He was then given his clothes back and escorted off the craft. Antonio became a successful lawyer and always told the same account. One strong theme to emerge from many of the abduction and contact details is one of kindness and protection. Many abduction victims claim to have been shown mental images of the destruction of Earth through neglect and war. These images have been remarkably similar across a broad spectrum of abduction witnesses, when basically confirming the same images of death and destruction. Perhaps the aliens want to protect us from destruction. One of the more recent theories is that the aliens are using the human race to conduct some form of genetic experiment. This has come about fairly recently due to the connection between animal mutilations and UFOs. Many abduction victims claim that they were subjected to strange experiments, including the removal of semen from men and eggs from women. Some women even claim that they have been impregnated, only to have the fetus removed shortly after conception. In 1975, Travis Walton was abducted in full view of 5 forestry workers. He was missing for 5 days and presumed dead. On the 5th day, he was returned, brandishing a full 5 days beard growth. The witnesses, as well as Travis, took and passed lie detector tests. Travis described the interior of the craft as well as the beings who abducted him in detail. If he was not abducted, where was he for 5 days while his co-workers were being accused of his murder? Abductees have shown that they display all the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Nothing can cause this except a real, experienced event. The theory that the aliens are preparing for a total invasion is popular in film and media. The main reasoning against this theory is that any civilization that can traverse space and time should be able to invade a civilization that has been flying for less than 100 years easily. If the invasion theory is correct, then surely we would have been invaded many years ago. No matter what their agenda is, aliens apparently are here, and strange reports of their presence emerge yearly. Indeed, the reports of alien contact and UFO sightings grow every year. We may not know why bizarre UFO and alien encounters occur, but we do know that there appears to be no end in sight. With modern technology and the widespread use of digital cameras, there are more recordings of UFOs now than ever before. Perhaps sometime soon, an encounter will occur and be documented so readily that no one and no government can ignore it. If so, then on that day, we may finally know the answer of why disturbing alien encounters are happening. One would think the news media would be all over this issue. However, the media is controlled by big business and the government. They can't report the truth to you. Just as the government is hiding UFO information, the media in which this information would be disseminated to you has their own agenda. News outlets are concerned about one thing: ratings. In order for the media to report on the UFO issue, they must have tangible proof. Should they report on something they cannot prove, they would be considered untrustworthy, and they would lose ratings points. The media can only report what they are instructed to say, and without hard evidence, they remain silent. The media would scramble to bring you UFO disclosure. However, their hands are tied by the very government they are beholden to and the huge corporations that control and censor what they are allowed to discuss. In order for the UFO issue to become mainstream, the media would have to be placed in a position to demand answers. That can only occur if public outcry became so great that they could not ignore it. Everything we need to bring the UFO issue out to the general public is already freely available to anyone who seeks to find it. A multitude of books, DVDs, and UFO researchers are available to you. Knowledge is power. Educate yourselves. The UFO issue need not be lost to antiquity. You have the power to ensure future generations grow up in the truth and knowledge that we are not alone, and that we reside in a universe populated with many species much like ourselves. Governments are all about one thing: control. Control policy, control information, control the public. No government wants to appear to be out of control and impotent. The more powerful you appear, the stronger you become. After the Washington UFO incidents, the CIA issued a memorandum to the Air Force and Project Blue Book that stated that the Air Force and Project Blue Book should take steps to strip the unidentified flying objects of the special status that they have and the aura of mystery they unfortunately acquired. After this memo, Project Blue Book would rarely publicize any UFO case that it had not labeled as solved, and unsolved cases were rarely mentioned by the Air Force. Because the government is invested in controlling the country, they have multiple reasons to avoid disclosure of the UFO mystery. The primary reason is national security. The government is afraid you can't handle it, and they fear the actions of the aliens themselves. Disclosure would relinquish much of their control, and like a comfortable security blanket, they don't want to give it up. This also creates a paralyzing condition within the government. Many officials simply don't know what to do. It's better for them to remain ignorant than to face the UFO issue. It is much easier to deal with an issue, especially one where there is no roadmap, in secrecy, where dirty laundry and mistakes can be handled outside the scrutiny of media and the public. It's easier to deal with the issue in the black world than with everyone watching. The announcement of an ET presence on Earth would be front-page news for months. It would dominate the government's every action and not allow it to carry out any of its planned business. Agencies like NASA would become irrelevant overnight. The government would face the question of why they continue to fund NASA when they knew our space efforts were a waste of taxpayer money. It would significantly impact our economy. Jobs in the space industry could be lost quickly, and demands for technology gleaned from the captured craft would throw Wall Street into turmoil. Police officer Leroy Gayton told National Public Radio that he was walking to his car when he saw a luminous object that reminded him of pictures of erupting volcanoes suspended 3,000 feet in the air. Another witness estimated that the UFO was a half-mile wide, a mile long, and bigger than a Walmart. Another of the most bizarre supposed UFO sightings in modern history took place at Falcon Lake in Manitoba, Canada, and involved a man named Stephen Malkalik. Malkalik was a prospector who claims to have encountered not one, but 2 UFOs, and after investigating the objects, he was blasted with some sort of hot gas from an exhaust vent that left him with bizarre markings on his midsection and led to his being hospitalized. This remains one of the most bizarre cases of a UFO sighting on record, simply because it's one of the few in which the person who claims to have made contact with alien life suffered a very real, very strange injury. He suffered from nausea, headaches, and the odd burn markings in a very distinct grid shape across his abdomen. There is no reasonable explanation for this, unless he too came into contact with the strange propulsion systems of one of their craft. A UFO sighting on the evening of December 29, 1980 changed the lives of 3 Texans forever, and not for the good. While driving through the southern tip of the East Texas piney woods north of Houston, Betty Cash, Vicki Landrum, and Vicki's 7-year-old grandson Colby came upon a huge diamond-shaped object just above the trees and 130 feet away. Cash hit the brakes, and she and the elder Landrum stepped outside. Immediately, they noticed intense heat. Their faces felt as if they were burning. When Vicki re-entered the car and touched the dashboard to steady herself, she left a handprint. Blasting fire and heat, the UFO slowly ascended. Suddenly, numerous helicopters, 23 in all, appeared from all directions, positioning themselves near the strange craft. But this time, the witnesses were back in the car and watching the spectacle from their moving vehicle. Other motorists saw the object and the helicopters from different, more distant locations. Eventually, the flying objects were lost to view. Unfortunately, the episode was only beginning. Back home, the 3 fell sick, Cash most severely. She suffered blisters, nausea, headaches, diarrhea, loss of hair, and reddening of the eyes. On January 3rd, unable to walk and nearly unconscious, she was admitted to a Houston hospital. Vicki and Colby were experiencing the same symptoms, though less severely. The witnesses' health problems continued throughout their lives. In September 1991, Cash's personal physician, Dr. Brian McClelland, told the Houston Post that her condition was a textbook case of radiation poisoning, comparable to being 3 to 5 miles from the epicenter of Hiroshima. For years, the 3 have pursued their case through the courts, seeking answers and redress. But official agencies deny any knowledge of the incident, even though the helicopters have been identified as twin-rotor Boeing CH-47 Chinooks, used by both the Army and the Marines. Betty Cash died at the age of 71 on December 29, 1998, exactly 18 years after her claimed close encounter. Vicki Landrum died September 12th of 2007, 7 days before her 84th birthday. Are these bizarre alien accidents where humans were adversely subjected to their technology and suffered horrendous fates? Or could the extraterrestrials be uncaring and unsympathetic towards their encounters with hapless Earthlings? One thing is for sure, if you do happen upon a hovering UFO, stay away as far as you can. Could UFOs have shields or move slightly into another dimension when under attack, allowing their craft to be protected from harm? Is it possible they have technology or supernatural abilities that prevent them from being bombarded while in flight? UFOs are seen in space and in the air all around the globe, but the sky is not the only home for them. There exists another phenomenon that is just as hard to explain as UFOs. USOs, or underwater submerged objects, are often reported as well. Most USO sightings are of a typical UFO emerged from the water and are not seen or classified as separate phenomenon by most people. Although identifying and dispelling unidentified flying objects has typically been imported to militaries as a national security measure, the USO sightings compared to UFO sightings have never been reported as a national threat or caused the sensation that typical UFO sightings often have. Ranging in size and shape, the most common USO sightings are of disc-shaped or cylindrical-shaped objects. Traveling at speeds far exceeding any Earth-based underwater craft, these objects typically travel anywhere between 150 and 500 knots when submerged. Some of these objects have been reported as traveling at much higher speeds. UFOs have been seen by many people all over the world, and for a planet where 2/3 of the surface is covered by water, it should come as no surprise to the eclectic that there is more life hidden away from our eyes than what we get to see on TV. USOs, or unidentified submerged objects, have been seen by many explorers, sailors, naval officers, fishermen, and regular folk getting around the planet in their ships and boats. In 1952, the crew aboard the USS FDR witnessed a metallic object rise from the water and into the sky. This was not the first of sightings for the crew aboard this ship. It's also interesting that at the time of these sightings, the USS FDR was the only ship carrying nuclear weapons. Was a civilization of aliens stranded here who became the mythical subterranean civilizations? Do they move in and out of the water in spaceships, generally at the poles or in other areas with major grid points and vortexes? Though researchers have many USO encounter reports, little is known of these submerged craft. Could aliens be using the cover of our oceans to maneuver around the planet? Bizarre encounters with USOs continue to this day and appear to be as pronounced as UFO reports. It is estimated that 9.2 million people are directly and indirectly employed by the United States oil and natural gas industry. This could be a major factor in keeping the money flowing to the people who are benefiting now. So retooling an economy based almost entirely on oil would be very disruptive to society. There would be uncomfortable questions the public would demand the government answer, and no politician wants to face an outraged public demanding answers. However, the main reason there has not been disclosure is because the general public doesn't care. In the last 57 years, a United States president has only faced the UFO question twice. In the 2004 election, there was not a single UFO-related question to one of the two major candidates. The public does not see the UFO ET presence as a key issue. So why would the government risk all the potential fallouts for an issue that no one cares about? It would require enormous public pressure to bring this issue to the forefront, and all indications are that you don't care enough to make this happen. It's frightening to consider that an intelligence exists outside our comfort zone and is operating within and around our world with complete impunity. There's ample proof for the existence of UFOs, aliens, and the ET agenda. You and I are the key to solving this mystery. Politicians react to pressure. Our world today has changed in no small part to grassroots organizations that have pressured our government to react. Immigration, gay rights, Social Security, and all the major issues are driven by a growing public demand for change. The UFO issue is no different. The key to solving the ET mystery is within each of us. It is up to us to support and publicly demand answers and disclosure from the politicians we elect. If enough pressure is applied, change is inevitable. Weird and unusual UFO landings have occurred multiple times in modern times. Perhaps as the aliens arrive at our world, they cannot help but affect the areas they visit, and each time they land, they leave further evidence of the reality of UFO encounters. One of the many reasons put forth as to why we are being visited is that it is just a simple case of curiosity. In a similar way as the first explorers of our planet discovered new lands and new civilizations, alien life forms who stumble across us in their exploration of space may find us an intriguing and interesting species in our own right. Another popular theory put forward is that the Earth may well contain certain minerals which are not present on another alien planet. There has been some evidence to this in various reports and claims of underground alien bases and sightings of craft seemingly taking samples of Earth